The answers you are looking for is in the silence you're avoiding.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. The answers you're looking for is in the silence you're avoiding. You need fewer inputs, not more.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, that's really...
People out there that think somehow or another you're going to get to some place where you're living in silk sheets and you're getting your toes done while someone's dropping grapes into your mouth. I don't want that. I've never wanted that. That guy's not going to be happy. He's going to be bored. An hour into the grapes, you're going to get those fucking grapes away from me. Stop painting my toes. What am I doing in this bed? I got to do something. I'm not stimulated. The human organism, the animal that we are, needs constant stimulation because it evolved trying to find food and escape enemies, and find shelter, escape nature, escape the elements, try to survive. And this is the great joy that you have in taking care of your children, that you can protect your children from the elements and the enemies and feed them. And it's also the great sadness that you see in losers. When I see a loser, I see some guy who's 43 years old, lives in his parents' basement, and he fucking hates the world. I'm like, that was a baby. Man, this is a baby that somebody just gave shitty nutrients to, whether it's nutrients in the forms of food or in the form of thoughts and ideas and examples. And this kid developed these horrible, self-defeating patterns of behavior that have led them to this point where they're this middle-aged person with no future and no idea of how to get out of this rut, and probably never will escape it, and might just wind up sucking on a gun.
Now, when I was 15 years old, I had a very important person in my life come to me and say, "Who's your hero?" And I said, "I don't know, I got to think about that. Give me a couple of weeks." I come back 2 weeks later, this person comes up and says, "Who's your hero?" I said, "I thought about it. You know who it is?" I said, "It's me in 10 years. So I turned 25 10 years later. That same person comes to me and goes, "So are you a hero?" And I was like, "Not even close." No. She said, "Why?" I said, "Because my hero is me at 35. So you see, every day, every week, every month, and every year of my life, my hero's always 10 years away. I'm never going to be my hero. I'm not going to attain that. I know I'm not. And that's just fine with me because that keeps me with somebody to keep on chasing."
To keep it getting, it's like, there's a lot of people out there that they have a dream, and then the pressure of trying to reach that dream, like his dream is to be in a successful band, right? And the pressure of trying to reach that dream and see it to fruition, it just seems unreachable.
Yeah.
It seems too far off. And here you are, you're in your 30s and you're working in a construction job, and you fucking work all day in Boston in the winter. You're tired as shit when you get home. You don't want to go to band practice.
Yeah.
You get home at 6:30, you have dinner, and now it's 7:30. You got to get up.
Right.
You got to get up in a few hours.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? When are you going to bed? You got to get up at 6. Like,
Then you go to
fuck.
band practice and the drummer doesn't show up, so
Right.
you can't practice. Or
He's 45 minutes late, his car breaks down, and you're fucking pissed, and your girlfriend's screaming at you.
yeah. Yeah, then try to have a relationship on top of that. Tell that girl you can't go out on Saturday night ever because you're doing gigs.
And then the gigs suck, and you're not making any money, and they're like, "You should get a job. The gigs suck. You should get a job."
Yeah.
Fuck.
And it's really hard for me to feel proud of myself,
Yes. So stop saying that.
Okay.
Because every time you say that, you're rewiring it back into your body over and over. It's a story.
Yeah.
It's like there's an old phrase that says, "Tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, sooner or later people believe you." Who said that? Hitler.
Oh, I think you were going to say Fauci.
Well, same difference.
But yeah, I didn't know it was going to be.
We're aligned on that one, brother.
You're a quicker thinker than I am. But we hear what we're saying.
But
yeah.
the conversation you've said with yourself, you've done. How many times do you think you've said that?
Said what?
That it's hard for me. I
say it a lot. Yeah, it's because I think it's like having a new story for myself. Part of me is still, there's a heavy bit even to my whole new story, to having a new story.
Yeah.
Even having some success in my life. It's almost like some of it feels embarrassing,
Yeah. And some people feel like, the word people use is imposter syndrome. It's all bullshit. It's just fear that you're not enough. We all have that fear, brother.
Yeah.
I feel that at times. I don't feel it much now, but I'm 63 years old and I've done a shitload of things for 40 years.
You built enough pattern.
Yeah, I built up new patterns.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle. Everybody's got the muscle. If you use it, it grows. If you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't ever disappear, though. It just looks like it's not there. But if you demand that you push it beyond what it's comfortable with, and that's what you're doing right now, you're pushing beyond your comfort. You were settling for comfort to try to survive.
You have one life, don't settle for mediocrity.
Don't settle for mediocrity. And I think the only, people debate intelligence, for example, right? We talk about IQ tests and all that. But I think the only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. And there are two parts to that. One is getting what you want. So you know how to get it, the right things, knowing what to want in the first place. I could want to be a 6'8" basketball player, and I'm not going to get that. So it's wanting the wrong thing. So
That's wanting something that you can't get.
That's wanting something you can't get.
There's also wanting something that you don't want.
Yeah, wanting something that's a booby prize. There are plenty of booby prizes out there too, right?
I haven't heard that word in about 20 years.
Yeah, prizes that are just not worth having or that create their own problems.
Well, if you're not careful, you can end up in a place in life not only that you don't want to be, but one that you didn't even mean to get to.
There's an expression that someone told me once, and I say it all the time. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. If it's you got a dent in your car or it's your parents get killed in a car accident. Either one of those things is the worst thing, depending upon the level of whatever stress or anxiety or horrible things that you've experienced in your life. That sort of measure, that's your watermark for what you can and can't tolerate.
The biggest risk to your future isn't your competition. It's the distractions you insist on keeping in your life rather than doing the things you know you should be doing but aren't. People delay doing things they don't like for longer than it takes to do them.
There have been so many times in my life where I knew I needed to do something, and then I filled all this extra time not doing that thing. And then the moment I did it, I was like, wow, that took way less time than I thought it was going to take. And not only that, it took way less time than it took me to delay to actually get to this point. And if I had only started with just doing what I was supposed to do, I could have done 4 or 5 other things that I was also supposed to do by this exact same point. And so thinking about it from that perspective, I've tried to eliminate as much time between I think I should do this thing and beginning doing it. And I think you get this positive reinforcement cycle that occurs every time you start. I call it pulling the thread. It's like, I just need to start pulling the thread. And then all of a sudden what feels really unknown becomes very tangible.
You know, I never really considered that until your book. Until I heard the title of your book and I read the synopsis of it. I never really considered it. I never considered that thinking about your problems all the time and talking about your problems all the time literally make the problems grow.
That's right. I mean, it's the number one symptom of depression is what they call rumination, this pathological obsessing over your pain.
Yeah.
That's why stuff like exercise, that's one of the reasons, aside from chemical reasons, one of the reasons that doing anything, you know that running errands is good for your mental health? Getting out of your house and accomplishing anything is good for you. But sitting around talking and thinking about your problems, that's a bad habit. And the best cognitive behavioral therapists and others, you know, the dialectical behavioral therapists, the ones who do really well with depression, the first thing they do is try to break that bad pattern.
If all your books, videos, and tweets were erased from the internet forever, and all you had was the next 60 seconds to leave to the world, what's the most useful thought you could leave to the world?
Figure out what you want, ignore the opinions of others, and do so much volume that it would be unreasonable that you would be unsuccessful.
Your word is a man's most valuable, most important resource is his good name. If a man ain't got a good name, he ain't got nothing. So don't lie. Be respectful. Be respectful to others. Be respectful to your elders. Even if they're not respectable, they still been through life enough. Their position earns them what their behavior won't.
You're going to lose sleep. You'll doubt whether it'll work. You'll stress to make ends meet. You won't finish your to-do list. You'll wonder whether you made the right call and have no way to know for years. This is what hard feels like, and that's okay. Everything worth doing is hard, and the more worth doing it is, the harder it is. The greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it. More for you.
I think a lot of entrepreneurship and even personal growth is training yourself on how you respond to hard. Because in the early days, hard was, ooh, stop. This isn't good. I should, this is a warning sign. This is a red flag. I should slow down, or I should stop, I should pivot. But the more I think about it as a competitive landscape, as I'm clear on what this path is supposed to look like, and these rocks and these dragons are things that I'm going to have to slay along the way to get the princess or get the treasure, I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.